All right, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Friday Team Call. And this morning, we've got the pleasure to have Ms. Stella Dinwiddie leading the call. So, Stella, I'm not going to take any time today. This is all your show.
Well, all right then. Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much, Chris. I feel extremely blessed and honored every single time that I get to be here every day, every time. And looks like we still have some people popping in. So I'm going to give it about a minute, maybe just about one more minute. Hey, looks like we have Heather joining us. So I'm so happy to see all your faces. Super excited, super duper excited. You know, we're in this process of rebuilding, which is exciting in of itself. And I just, for those of you, let me see, they're still popping on. I know that Stacy, you told me you've got an appointment early on, so you're going to have to hop off. We're not going to have a long meeting. Folks, I just really wanted to go through some of what my team had asked me. So let me go ahead, and I'm actually going to start with some leaderboards. Let's go ahead and get that out of the way, which is actually super exciting. All right. Let me go ahead and, oh, and Chris, can you give me the screen sharing rights? All right, so let's go ahead and we're going to go through the leaderboards, and we're actually going to go from the month to date first. We're just going to go a little bit. Let me find it in here. I know you sent it to me. All right, this is so exciting, folks. So for those of you that are not on the top 10, I want you to know that we're so proud of you, because we realize, you know, it's just the second week in the month of October. And at the same time, it's already the second week in the month of October. But October is a 5-week turn-in, which is really exciting for those of you that have been here for a while, because that means that's that much more APV, that many more families that you can help, and that will be a part of your October numbers. So month to date leaderboards, this is what everybody has written in the top 10 list, month to date in the month of October. And so starting number 10, we have Miss Stacy Love, who has written 4 applications so far for $3,194 and is direct to Miss Donna Bates. Congratulations. Number 9 is Derek McPherson. He's written 6 applications for $4,178 direct to John Paul. Joanna Doibin, 4 applications for $4,379 direct to Lionel Anderson. Donna Bates herself, 5 applications with $4,854 direct to Blair Cushion. Number 6, Angel Bodden with 4 applications for $5,616 direct to John Paul Vetter. Miss Terry Myers, who is on fire right now. Folks, these are only the second week in October. So far, month to date, 7 applications for $7,321 direct to myself. I'm so proud of you, Miss Terry. I'm proud of all of you. And then number 4 is Blair Cushion with 7 applications for $7,811 direct to Chris. John Paul Vetter himself with 7 applications for $11,235 direct to Chris. Number 2 is Miss Jenny Gray with 14 applications. That's like 7 applications a week. That's awesome. For $14,830 direct to John Paul. And number 1, you didn't have to have me say this, Chris. So Miss Stella Dinwiddie with 8 applications for $16,644 direct to Chris Menifee himself, and still trucking along, because
I'll say it, 16 grand only 2 weeks in. She's on pace for a 40K month. So congratulations, and way to lead from the front, Miss Dinwiddie.
Thank you, Chris. For those of you, that's been a long-term goal of mine, is to write 40,000. I've come close, but I haven't written 40,000 yet, but it's on my goal list every single day, and I will do it. I don't know when, but I'm going to do it. Here's week to date. Week to date, we have with number 6. Oh, is that a new writer, James Sparks? Well, I don't know that I've seen that name before. Congratulations, Mr. James Sparks. One application for $768, direct to Chris Menifee. Number 5, Miss Donna Bates with 2 applications for $1,177, direct to Blair Cushion. And number 4, Blair Cushion himself with 2 applications for $1,562. And folks, remember, this is for just this last week. And Miss Stacy Love with 2 applications for $2,654, direct to Miss Donna Bates. And then number 2 is Stella Dinwiddie with 3 applications for $4,397, direct to Chris. And number 1, who is number 1? Let me just make sure. Number 1 is Miss Terry Myers with 3 applications for $5,633, which Terry just wrote over 10,000 a couple of weeks ago. And we, a lot of us will still be writing business today because today still counts for this past week. And I'm just super proud of you, Terry, and super excited and proud of all of you guys. But some of you I talk with more on a one-on-one basis. So Terry's my awesome, amazing money buddy, and I'm just super proud of her. So those are the numbers. Let me get back out of here. I see what I'm doing. Awesome. Let's see if we've got more people on here. We do. Look at that. Awesome. I love seeing all your faces. And if you can, if you've done your hair or washed your hair and you can unveil yourself, I would love to see your smile. If you don't want to, or you're at work, or you haven't washed your hair, it's okay. That's all right. So I'm just so blessed, and I'm so thankful to be here. I'm grateful every day just to be here with you all, with my families. Every time when I'm honored to be able to speak on these calls, whether it's for our team meeting or a national call, on my biggest desire, my biggest goal, my biggest passion is to dig deep within myself to see how can I positively impact you? How can I make a positive impact? How can I help you? What can I offer to you that I've been through or that I've done in order to help you? And, and that's in all my actions, right? What we do every day. How can we positively make a positive impact on our family? People that we love, that we live with every day, that we wake up to, our spouses, our kids. How can we make a positive impact with the families that we sit with? Even if I don't help them, but I have a great conversation with them, because maybe I'm talking to a wife, and her husband's going through cancer, and he doesn't have much time left. So she just feels like he doesn't qualify for anything and wishes that we talked before. I just had that conversation. Or maybe it's new people coming on board, they're brand new to this. But it's always, I always want to know how I can positively impact you. And so I did ask my team, and they gave me a bunch of suggestions. And one of the big ones was overcoming objections. And before we continue, I'm going to ask you all to have a pen and paper, because I am going to ask you to write some things down. So overcoming objections, that's a big one. And because that's everything in life. We even joked about that, we said, the person said, well, it was Heidi, and, in this job, Stella, how do you overcome objections in this job? And we all kind of chimed in and joked about, you mean not overcoming objections in your marriage or in dating, and we were laughing. But in what we do, how do we overcome objections with what we do? And we have so many brand new people here that I want to make sure that I am able to help in terms of especially new people just starting to dial, because that's step number 2. Because step number 1 is actually overcoming ourselves. You don't think about that, but that's true. Because the only way that we can overcome objections with what we do is getting past what's in here first, making that choice every day. But we are going to talk about overcoming objections. We're going to talk about we're going to focus primarily on overcoming objections on the phone, making dials, when we dial, what they say to us. And we are going to open it up to an open forum. So I'm going to encourage you all, if you have an objection that you're like, well, what do you say when they tell you this? Write it down right now, because when we open it up, you'll have an opportunity to give that to us. And we're going to help you with that as a team, because that's what we're here for. We are a team that supports each other, that encourages each other, that helps each other. And because we're all going in the same direction. So that's what I love about our culture here. And that's the biggest thing that I've always loved about here with my cemetery family, is that camaraderie, the teamwork. So we're here for you. So go ahead and write those down. When we open it up, you can talk about that. But before I get into overcoming objections, I thought long and hard about, just kind of an outline. And one of the things that I really felt was important to talk with you about was just a little background on myself, because we have so many new people that don't know about what I struggled with in overcoming my own objections. I mean, some of you might see, wow, she wrote 14,000, in a week, or 12,000 in a week, and you see all these accolades, but you don't know the struggles that I went through. It wasn't always like that. And it still isn't always like that, but I've developed myself over time. I'm still developing myself, but the struggles that came before it, I was so motivated and inspired to talk about that, because I don't know how many of you here were on that builders call yesterday. If you weren't, it's okay, but raise your hand if you were on that call with Marlon Faulkner yesterday. Okay, so yeah, that was some powerful stuff. He talked about overcoming his own struggles, and it all ties in together, because we can come in here and feel and hear, see all the numbers, and some of you will hop on a Zoom call for smiling and dialing with me, and and it could look really easy, like, wow, she just made those appointments. But some of you that stuck around long enough in those dial rooms also hear me get rejected, and it doesn't just mean a mean rejection. It's just people simply saying, you know what, I'm no longer interested. Oh yeah, I didn't know what that was for, so I just call that number. We get all that different kinds of responses. But as a little background, back to a little background on me. I started here about 2.5 years ago. In April of 2019 was my first month, and I struggled really, really hard. When I first started, I struggled to make dials. Some of you have heard this, so I'm sorry, Terry, if you have to hear it again. But I struggled really hard. And I was living in a small 2-bedroom apartment. I've been going back further, okay, so if you want the real whole background story, I will tell you that I'm a cancer survivor. I'm 55 years old. I was diagnosed with lymphoma and papillary cancers back in 2014. And at the same time, also went through a divorce and drained over 100,000 out of one of my 401ks because I literally didn't have enough money to put food on the table because when you undergo chemo treatments and all of that, you really can't be at a job and still sit there for 5 hours with an IV hooked up to you. So, you know, going through that was just one piece of my life. There's a whole lot of other obstacles that I've had to overcome in my life that I won't get into, but that's just one of them. And I actually share that with my families. So I'm going to share it with you today because I almost let that be an obstacle for me coming into here. When I first started, I was broken, like a lot of people coming in here. I didn't have any money in the bank, literally. Didn't have enough money for leads, but they said I needed to invest in leads. I'm not saying for you to do this, but when I first started, I actually withdrew from my bank account because I was too proud. I didn't want to borrow from my friends or family. And so I borrowed from my bank account because it would, the ATM machine would give me $300 cash and only charge me a $35 fee. And I'd rather pay that $35 fee than call up my mom or somebody. And so I did that, and I would go to the store and I would buy a gift card for a $200 gift card. And I would use that so that I could have a Visa card to use in Opt to buy leads. And then the rest of the remaining money I'd put for gas so that I could get to and from my appointments. And when I first started, my first month, I wrote 5 applications for just shy of $6,000, $5,959. But I had a hard time making appointments because I didn't master the phones yet, and I didn't do the activity that I was supposed to do. But my second month, I dropped because, you know, sometimes when we go through struggles, we back off, we shy away. And, you know, it's kind of like, oh, they're just going to say that, or they're just going to say this. Oh, you know, it's daunting. Oh, I got to go dial, you know, and your momentum gets interrupted by your fear. Your momentum gets interrupted by your lack of activity because of your fear, or because you're not pushing yourself. That's what happened to me. So I went backwards, and in May, I only wrote 2 applications for $2,235. And then I learned about self-development. Everybody talked about self-development, this, that. Gosh, okay, so maybe I need to work on me. So I went to work on me. I put things up on my wall that said things like, if things are going to get better, I have to get better. You have to get better, Stella. If you want for things to change, I have to change. Like, I can't just hope and pray that things around me are going to change. Oh, I hope and pray my leads are going to get better. I hope and pray I write this much this week. None of that was going to happen unless I made changes deep inside myself. And the reason I say deep inside myself is because I had to change my mindset going into calling those people. And when I started working on myself and started looking forward and not looking backward on all the fears, not letting the fears overcome me, like I'm too old, you know, because I got my license after I was 50 years old. I regret going through my divorce to this day. And during that time, I was in even more deep regret. Regret that, you know what, why didn't I make more dials? Dang, I beat myself up. And I would call Chris, and, you know, I was like literally in tears. And, because I'm like, I'm trying, I don't know why, what is it, that I'm not doing right? And we would go through my numbers and he would say, Stella, I don't have enough data to really analyze and help you. Like, you don't have very many dials, and I'm looking at the month of May, okay, when I only had 2 applications. I didn't dial that much because I shied away from it. I got busy. I got distracted. Can you write this down? Because distraction is your number 1 killer in interrupting your momentum. You gotta build momentum here. There's no way around it. And that comes from being consistent. So I worked on myself. I worked hard on myself every single morning. Everybody does something different. For me, it was prayer. It was working on my heart, forgiving myself, and having and building upon my strength that, because all the fears when I first started were that, oh, maybe I'm too old, maybe because I don't want to push myself too hard, because what if the cancer comes back? What if this? What if that? All these fears, what if the person tells me this? I had to work on me to overcome those kinds of obstacles to help build Stella up, to build that confidence so that when I got on the phone and dialed, I could have that posture. I could have that confidence. I could learn how to deflect questions. I could learn how to assume that I was going to help this family today. Because remember, before I had all these fears of, that, it's going to be another person that's going to tell me this or that, because I didn't master the phones yet. I was learning, and I made it a slow process. And the reason I tell you that is because I'm going to give you an analogy. It's like learning how to master the phones is like failing forward as fast as you can, because the slower the process, the slower the activity, the lower the amount of dials that you make, the lower the amount of activity you do. Friends, I'm here to tell you, it's like peeling a Band-Aid really slow. It's like off of a wound. It's painful, and the pain continues. But otherwise, if you fail forward fast and you rip it off fast, the pain is really great, but it heals quicker. The pain starts to go away quicker. So, Jim Rohn, I love what he says. We all suffer one of 2 things. We're either going to suffer the pain of discipline to do what we need to do, whether we feel like it or not, or the pain of regret. Oh, I didn't, I put on my schedule, I was going to do 100 dials today, or 100 dials or 500 dials. They say I have to do this many dials. I was going to do it and I didn't do it. Dang it. I'm going to kick myself, beat myself up mentally. You don't want to do that. Okay. These are all part of overcoming objections, and we're going to get there, but I need you to understand that you have to dig into the core of yourself, because that's what I had to for me, before you can get to the point of, all right, I am going to master this thing. Because you've got to have discipline and you got to have confidence. And it's okay if you don't feel overly confident. I didn't always. I'm not saying I'm this overly confident person. I'm just telling you, it's a learned behavior. You learn it, and you learn it through your activity. I mean, think back to the times when you say, I'm going to do this, this, and that. I'm going to clean the house. I'm going to clean out the garage. I am going to dial these leads, and I am going to do one other thing. I'm going to eat what I put on my diet today because I'm trying to lose 20 pounds. Let's pretend. And then you do it. And at the end of the day, you're like, I did it. You know what? That garage, I walk out there and it looks nice and clean. Everything's organized. And you feel really good about yourself. Same thing here. When you apply yourself with that activity, it's a natural progression. I promise. You're only going to get better. And when you do the activity, it builds your confidence, because now you start seeing that I can. Oh, I can do it. I can get through the mundane. Okay. So back to my background, I didn't stay at just $2,000 a month. When I started working on myself, here's what's really cool, because I made a list. I wrote down my production. In the third month in June, I wrote just shy of 12,000, and the month before I only wrote 2,000. And this was after I started working on myself. Wrote 16 applications, wrote almost 12,000. Next month, same thing, 10 applications, almost 12,000. August, it doubled to $20,812 with 22 applications. I love looking back at this, because your stats will always tell a story about your actions and your intentions. The numbers don't lie. So, and then in September, I wrote 25,421. So you see this upward. And then I'm not going to go through every single month. Fast forward, then, that following January, I wrote 27,740. And I was being a consistent writer, because I built momentum. I was consistent. I focused on self-development. I focused on my families. And there's consistent momentum, focus, activity, and I did the activity. So when you do the activity and you're focused, you'll build, and you're consistent, that's what builds that momentum. And that's what's going to build your confidence. If you've listened to the national calls, the Monday calls, I want you to pay attention when people are talking about their introduction about themselves. Some of these big heavy hitters, writers like Elijah Caruso, and there's many of them. Some of them were here for like a year or two before the light bulb went off, and before they actually started writing, a lot. So if you feel like you've been here a while, there's not very many of you, but there are some of you that have been here a while, and you feel like, well, I've tried that and hasn't worked. I'm going to challenge you. Have you really? I mean, look at your activity sheets, because if you are really tracking your activity, deep in your soul that when you don't do the activity, you don't see the results. When you do the activity, you will see the results. Okay. So that was really important for me to give you that background. Fast forward today, you hear people talk about our income, and I'm just super duper grateful to, be able to share that I've consistently been able to put 15,000 minimum in my bank account every month for the last year at a minimum, because I've been consistent. I'm nothing great. Like, ask my family. I'm just consistent. I just don't give up. I'm determined. And if I ever not feel that, I have that written on my wall to remind me who I am, why I'm here, and why I'm doing it. Okay, that's important. The other thing is that I wanted to share in my introduction is it's really cool. I was looking back at my old notes with these old promotion guidelines. And when I first started, the starting level was 60%. So I looked at it, and you can give yourself a promotion every 2 months, right? That's what's cool about here. Many things cool about here. But that meant that I had to do an issue paid amount for 2 months in a row until I can give myself the next promotion and the next promotion. And today I'm at 95% commission level, but I started at 60%. That meant that I had to be consistent and on that upward pushing for 16 months. It took me 16 months to get from 60% to 95%. So it's just a reminder of the time. Every good thing takes time. Every good thing takes time. When you plant a harvest, if you're a farmer and you're planting, you cannot expect for you to reap and sow from your harvest in 2 weeks if it takes your corn crops 3 or 4 months to grow, maybe longer. If you're a fisherman and you go out, you're a professional fisherman, you cannot expect to bring in a lot of income, your first week. Everything takes time. If you're going to learn to be a doctor, which we make physician salaries here, many of us make more than what a doctor makes. They have to go to college for many years. I think it's like 6 years, right? So I said all of that to help you understand when we're overcoming obstacles. I really want you to put it in perspective, because you're always going to have obstacles when you're dialing people, when you're sitting in front of them. You're always going to have those obstacles, but we will talk about some good responses in how to overcome those obstacles. But the core of overcoming them is going to come from in here in your soul and in your mind, because you can have somebody who doesn't know a whole lot. You can have somebody who I'm sorry, let me back up. You can have somebody that comes in here and they know everything about insurance. But if they have a negative mindset and they go into that phone call with, I hate dialing, it's so mundane. They're just going to tell me this, these leads. Yeah, I tried this. Oh, I tried this program. It didn't work. That's a heart problem. Because if you can also on the same level have somebody who has this much knowledge, doesn't know much, and just goes in there and has this attitude of gratitude and says, you know what? Hi, Mrs. Smith, how are you? And they talk to them like they're a doctor talking to a cancer patient, or, and I say that to help you understand that connection, that relationship when you're talking to that person, because you want to help them, but you do not want to come across as this overzealous telemarketer. So I'm going to give the analogy of being like a doctor when you're calling them from a doctor's office to make a doctor's appointment. They say to talk low and slow. And that's what you have somebody. So you have somebody coming in and they are just, excited, but they are talking low and slow with that client on the phone. But their attitude is, how can I help this person? Who are you? And, what can I help you with? That person can make a lot more appointments than the person who has a lot more knowledge, but has a bad attitude every single time. The first thing that you want to do here, aside from, so we want to master self-development, because, and especially every morning, because the first hour of your day is the rudder of your day. It's going to put you in a direction that you're going to go for the rest of the day. I can't tell you how many times I hear on all these self-development talks of, from the top people that will tell you, people who jump on your social media, the news, first thing in the morning, like, oh, that's garbage. I'm so sorry. Forgive me. But it is, because it fills your mind with everything that's wrong going on. So what is that going to do? It's going to put your mind in a direction of what's wrong in this world. What could happen? The fear, all of that. Throw all that out And if you focus on, hey, how can I get better today? What do I need to work on? Because that's what I do. And that's what everybody else that I know who wins here does. You hear it across the board. If that's what you do, I promise you, you will win here. So let's go ahead and that's enough about my introduction. I hope that it can help inspire somebody who might be fearful of like, well, I'm too old, I'm too this, I'm too that. You're not. Look at Danny Young. You know, I passed my life and health insurance license over the age of 50. If I can do it, anybody here can do it. So the first thing that we're going to get into is overcoming objections on the phone. One of the things I want to tell you before we start talking about it and before we open it up to you all is I want to encourage you to use your resources. Okay, when I first started, we didn't have this amazing fast track on Quility U. But I do want to show you that Quility U, some of you have seen it. You know what, to save some time, I do see some new faces, but who here has not been onto Quility U? Go ahead and either unmute yourself or raise your hand. Okay, perfect. So it sounds like everybody's been on Quility U. So then I'll save that time. Go to Quility U, make sure you go through that fast track, because that fast track is an amazing, amazing wealth of knowledge, of resources in walking you through how to overcome objections on the phone or in your role and presentation, in all aspects of what we do here. But to start off, you know, with on the phone, oh, the other resource is SoundCloud audios. When I first started, I couldn't listen to enough of them. To this day, I still go back and listen to them. I listened to one piece of one earlier this morning with Cicely Newsom and Tim Penso, and they talked about, you know, just going through their role and presentation, because I need reminders. You know, this is an ongoing forward business, and that's what I love about it. I need to be challenged. Many of you need to be challenged. If you feel like you're getting bored with the mundane, you're not challenging yourself enough. If you don't feel pain, you will not get any gain here. You need to feel pain. I'm sorry. It's hard. That's why a lot of people don't stay. Someone asked me, you know, the other day, hey, you know, I noticed there were some people that are not here. Well, some people have moved on and up, which is good. That's what we want. Just like Chris mentioned a while back when the Vetter agency split apart, because they got so big. Now they moved on. And there's, you know, you'll see that happen. You're going to see that happen with the Myers agency, with Dinwiddie agency, Bates agency, Love agency, Palatroni agency, Rhea agency. You know, there's so many of you here on this call that you're gonna break off. It's hard to see it, maybe for some of you. It's not hard for me to see it, because I already see it for me and for many of you. But anyways, back to overcoming objections on the phone and SoundCloud. So listen to those SoundCloud recordings, please, because that is going to go into detailed examples, how to overcome those objections. One of the best ones here, I'll post it in here in the chat, and I'm going to go through them with you, is I love these two. This one is, let me see, how do I share this? This is from Sarah Pappas. It all starts on the phone. And let me find the chat button on here. Let's see if this works for me. All right, that one. For those of you newbies, I encourage you to listen to that one. Here's another one. I love Sarah Pappas. This one is mental toughness and working bonus leads. And there's a whole lot more. So let's just start off with that right now. Some of the objections that came up, you know, when you're dialing are, I'm too old. So there's one sentence that I learned from Sarah Pappas when you're dialing that you're going to always want to use. It'll do two things for you. One is that it will validate what they're saying. And number two is that it will buy you a few seconds of time for you to be able to respond. And it's, write this down, and she'll tell you that in her audio. I love her so much. That's exactly why I was calling. That's exactly why I'm calling. That's exactly why I'm calling. Someone says, oh, yeah, I'm too old. Yes, that's exactly why I'm calling. You know, our records indicate, and these are great things for bonus leads, because I'm a bonus lead queen. When I first started, you heard me say, I borrowed money against myself to pay for my leads, and I bought bonus leads. I bought 50-cent leads. Like, I wrote all those business in my first 6 months of business, mostly on 50-cent leads. And those went, back then they were called 1A leads. Today they're called 5A leads, the $1.99 leads. That's hard because you have to go through a lot of rejection. So you say, that's exactly why I'm calling. And in that case, if they say I'm too old, that's exactly why I'm calling, Mrs. Smith. You know, our records don't indicate that, you know, anybody was ever able to help you. On here, I show that you're only 80. Is that correct? Or you're only 81? Did you have a birthday since then? And Mrs. Smith might say, yeah, I turned 81 in February. Oh, okay. And when people tell me that, let me tell you, I've gotten a habit of, I write down everything they tell me. So I'll write down February, you know, the number 2 for February under the date of birth column, and then 81. That gives me a head start. And then I say, yeah, was it because of, did they tell you it was because of your health, or was it just your age? Because here's the good news, Mrs. Smith, because I'm a broker, we represent over 40 of the top A-rated carriers out there that have specially designed plans for families just like you. And we specialize in affordable senior plans. Because we do. You can say that. Do you know why? I'll give you an example. Last night on the phone, talking to that guy, how old was he? 70. He was late 70s. I can't remember. Their mortgage was only $500 a month. But when I'm talking to him on the phone, you know, he had some medical stuff, you know, not too much, but he was almost 80, and he had, his mortgage is only $500 a month. And so in my mind, I start getting out my calculator, and I know he's older. So, and you know, if their mortgage is that low, they're not going to be able to afford very much. I don't want to put them in that position. I want to help them. I don't want to break them. I don't want to break their budget. They, you know, probably on a fixed income, which they were. I treat them like, if I'm going to sit there and help my mom, what do I know would help her or my, you know, family member, my best friend in that position? Well, if I know the mortgage is $500 a month, we went through a little exercise, and I found out that his income, you know, was just shy of 2,000, but her income was only 700. But I found out in going through, you know, the financial fire drill. If you haven't learned that, go do your homework, listen to Fast Track, listen to the sound recordings to understand what that is. I found out that their outgoing expenses, including their mortgage, was like $1,500 a month. So when, I'll just call him Bob, because I always like to call people Bob and Mary. When Bob's no longer there, his income goes away. she wasn't going to get any of his Social Security because, you know, they weren't married that long. Her income was going to drop down to $700 a month, and she wouldn't be there. And when I first called them and asked them, you know, I asked them, you know, went through the normal client qualification sheet, and I said, okay, what did you want this coverage to do for you, Bob? I don't know. I mean, haven't really looked at it. And it's really quiet and awkward. This is how it went down. So I said, okay, well, let me ask you this, because, you know, I was talking with Mary before you hopped on, and, you know, she mentioned that you guys, you know, had called in. She did, you know, you guys do remember calling in, and in that recording, you know, it did say that it would potentially pay off your loan, or help you, you know, due to an unexpected death. So if you weren't here today, you didn't wake up, or you didn't come home tonight, do you have a plan in place, Bob? Like, what does that look like for Mary right now? And we'd already went through, you know, a little financial fire drill. And he said, and got real quiet. And he said, it'd be bad for her. And I said, why do you say that? And it got really quiet again. And I've learned how to shut up, because that was a hard lesson for me to learn. And he said, and also another hard lesson for me to learn was peeling the onion, as Chris always told me, because I used to think that that answer was good enough. And I've learned it's not. So I said, okay, why do you say that would be bad for her? Well, my income is mostly what pays all the bills here. So it'd be really bad for her. I said, okay, well, let's look at that. And that was actually, I'm sorry, at the beginning of that, just going through the end. The last question on your client qualification sheet says, you know, I don't have a copy of it here, but it says, what do you want this insurance to do for you? Okay, that's a big part of making appointments. That's a big part of overcoming your objections. Because if you don't have that, you don't have their why, and you're not going to be able to help them. So at that time, then I could tell that, because I could hear Mary talking in the background. So I knew I was on speakerphone, and it was last night. And if any of you read on Crew, I had people that rescheduled, you know, and canceled. So all these appointments that I had lined up, and I'm sure you felt this before, man, I got all these appointments lined up, I'm going to have a great day. But then it all goes to, you know, to dissolve because they don't show up, or, you know, whatever. So I've learned to, like, hey, okay, I'm going to use that time to go make more appointments. I'm going to make up during that time, that hour and a half that I allotted for that family. I can make 2 or 3 appointments, and those 2 or 3 appointments can be 5,000 APV. You know, I don't know what the God has in store for me, but I know it's good if I'm believing and I'm looking forward, and my heart is in the right place to help those families. So when he said that, and I knew I was on speakerphone, I just said, well, you know, I can take care of you folks right now if you'd like. You got a few minutes? I said, yeah. Okay. So, you know, so we went through that. And the reason I told you the story is because, remember, we said one of the objections is I'm too old. Well, when we were talking and I knew his mortgage was $500 a month, I took my calculator and I times it by 6 months, because they had no backup plan. So 6 months times 500. So knowing that Mary will have a check in her hand to pay those 6 months of mortgage payments, it was $3,000. Folks, that's a lot of money when you need time, when you need to buy time, and you don't have a backup plan. Like, how many times have you personally have had bills staring at you in the face, and you're like, oh gosh, if they could just give me, I just need a little bit more time. I just need until next week. I just need 30 days. I just need a little bit more time. That's how it is with these families. And that mortgage payment is coming at them, and they got all these other expenses and bills, their monthly bills, but so the mortgage payment is the one focus that we help them with. So, and I knew that they weren't going to be able to afford much because their mortgage payment was only $500. So I helped them with a $3,000 plan. $3,000. Some people might be like, why am I going to help someone with $3,000, Stella? I just told you why. And that is going to mean so much to Mary when Bob dies and she's sitting there faced with a normal income expenses of about $1,500, and her income now just dropped down to $700 a month that barely can eat half of what is going out. And that doesn't include, what if he's in the hospital? What if there's medical bills? What if, they incurred some other debt along the way? So that is a big deal. So when people say I'm too old, we come back to, that's exactly why I'm calling. Was it because of your health or your age? And you're just going to learn how to deflect the question, and you're going to learn how to move back to the script and just ask the questions. Trust me, if you do it enough times, they'll follow you. One of the other objections was, well, I've already got some insurance. Oh, I've already got some. Yeah, that's exactly why I was calling. Our records don't show that you've had a policy review in a while. And so, I'm calling, to, potentially look and see if, Bob, if I could save you a couple of $100, over the course of your policy this year alone, would that be, some worth of your time? And, I can't tell you how many times, people will say, yeah, maybe, yeah, or, if they say, I already got some, yeah, did you, that's exactly why I'm calling. Did you, just so that I can update my records on here, did you get a term or a whole life? When I do this kind of response, that is the biggest, that is the biggest response that generates the most appointments. And the reason is because when I just tell them, yeah, I just want to update my records here. Did you get a term or whole life? Most times people don't know the difference. And can I tell you that 40% of those people, they actually, they think they had a whole life and they ended up having 100,000 of accidental. I'll always tell, and you're just opening up, you're peeling that onion again. You're asking them, and if they say, oh, I don't know, I got 100,000, or they'll tell you, yeah, I've got a lot of insurance. Oh, okay, is that whole life or term? Just so I can update my records. Oh, I think it's a term. I'm not really sure. I know they take it out of my paycheck every month. You know what that tells me? That means it's work insurance. So then I say, oh, okay, it sounds like all of your insurance is through your employer. Is that correct? Yeah, I got a good plan through my job. That's awesome. We tell everybody, your work insurance, if you've got it, get as much as you can, because it's usually free, or cheap. But the one thing that all my families that I help, the reason they come to us is because they want something that they can control and that they can own. In case you get laid off, or you don't work there anymore, or a new owner steps in and changes, your insurance plans. And where before, maybe only was $50 out of your paycheck, but now they're saying it's going to be, hey, we're not paying for this much and we're decreasing it. And now, these are stories that I hear all the time. So, or some people want living benefits. Do you know what that is? No, what's that? So what you're doing is you're engaging them, and that's what you want to do, because that's what will take you into, okay, well, it looks like, and then you're just going to get right back on script. Okay, well, it looks like on here, it shows that you're 55. Have you had a birthday since then? Okay, well, any medical diagnosis that we should be aware of, that would make a difference in, what you might qualify for? Like, have you ever had, cancer or heart attack? You're just going back on the script. Another one is, I'm no longer interested. Again, yeah, Bob, that's exactly why I'm calling, because our records indicate that, looks like they tried to reach out to you a couple of times, but we weren't sure why. Was it because of the cost, or was it because of, you found an insurance plan somewhere else? Yeah, I don't know. It was more the cost. Somebody came and talked to me and it was like $600 a month. Like, I mean, who can afford that? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, I totally understand, Bob. And that's exactly why I'm calling, because there are plans out there that are way more affordable, that so many families that I sit with, I can't tell you, they're thankful after they've talked with me, because again, I'm a broker, and we represent, so many more insurance carriers out there, just about every top A-rated carrier. There's never been a time that I haven't been able to find an affordable plan, even under $100. A lot of times that can be an accidental, and I can't tell you how many times over the course of time that I've helped those people. So those are some overcome objections. And I do see we're coming close up to the hour, and I'm sorry I talked so much, but let me go ahead and open it up before we run out of time, because I know many of us have appointments. So I'm going to ask any of you who have questions, on how to overcome your objections, to raise your hand, unmute yourself, and bring it on. It's okay, because, we all have objections that we want to overcome. So do all of you raise your hand if you feel like you've mastered dialing? Then tell me what your number one challenge is. Or no, maybe not put you on the spot like that. Sorry.
Stella, I just want to reiterate what you mentioned earlier about making sure you're asking them what plan they have in place today. Just in general, that's such a great way to spark the conversation, and finding out if they have whole or term, because you're right. I've talked to so many people that don't know what they have, or they think they have one thing and they have something else, or they might have a term and it expires in 5 years or something like that, so that's been one thing I wrote that down again today, because I can forget about that sometimes, and that in and of itself is such a great question, just to understand, so they have an opportunity to tell you, this is what we have, and that just opens that conversation up so much easier, and you really don't have to even say very much or ask very many questions to get to that point, so I just really like that. I appreciate you sharing that with me again today, because I wrote that down again.
I so appreciate you, Terry. You're so amazing. And that is really, really great to reiterate. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Hey, Stella, if I could just share one as well. This was a great call. I appreciate this stuff. You never can do enough to work on your objections. That's something I think you have to revisit on a regular basis, are those objections. That's exactly why I'm calling. It was one of the first things I listened to when I started with Susan. And what it does is it actually gives you a little time. That's exactly why I'm calling. And I think Terry was the one that helped me one time when I reached out to her as an example, and I was having a struggle about our records don't show that you've done anything, and go into that conversation. So there's a couple of points. I took several notes here, Stella. Great call this morning. Peeling back the onion, what Chris taught you is something as well, and that's slow and low. Man, I tell you, I got to kick myself in the butt a lot about that, because I get into sales mode and I got to stop and say, hold it. I'm in a mode here to help people. And I got to go more into that doctor mode than the sales guy mode. So those are things that I have a number of things that I wrote down. I have to remind myself about, the activity is kind of a learned behavior. I got distractions all around me. I've got to battle those all the time. These are just things that help you build yourself into a better, better deliverer of this message. But those are things as I listen today, I appreciate, and I have to continually restate to myself when I get up in the morning and do my self development that these are the things that I've got to achieve today.
I so love and appreciate you, Dave. I call Dave the determinator. This guy is determined. And you've shown it, Dave, over time in your production. And because when you go to bat, I love to use those analogies with him because, he loves baseball and he's played baseball at some higher levels in his background. Yeah, but he never gives up. He's determined. And when he goes to bat, he can hit some nice home runs. So thank you for sharing that. I really appreciate you sharing that. Does anybody else does anybody else have a question or anything that they wanted to share? You look like you want to say something, Donna.
I know you were looking at me and I'm like, she wants me to say something. This was great. And I really did not know what to expect, but I took notes as well, Dave. And I think the same way that you do, because the company that I worked with prior to coming to Symmetry, if people didn't have a lot of money and they weren't healthy, the agents were not nice and they would just, forget them and move on. And in my opinion, everybody deserves to have help. Everybody deserves to protect their family. And so if you make $50 here, it's $50 you can use to buy leads, and maybe you'll get a $2,000 sale down the road. And just this week, I had so many people, and I don't believe in karma. I believe in that God will provide. But so many people said to me, you're doing the right thing and karma's going to come around and it's going to help you. And I was like, well, God will help me, but that's okay. And I just kind of move on. But you can't limit yourself to looking for the rich and the famous. And I always share with the people that I work with, I'm not a millionaire, never been, probably never will be, but I consider my clients to be my mission field and I want to help them. And just helping you be able to protect your family means the world to me. And the two lines that you said, now I'm going to forget them. That's exactly why I'm calling, is just key, because it does give you time to regroup and rethink. And I want to update my records, also gives you that chance to regroup. And then it makes them feel like, oh, I'm in their system, I'm important. So it sometimes will turn them around. And then all of a sudden it's like, well, heck yeah, why don't you just see if you can help me out? So those are both important things. So thank you, Stella. You always do a great job.
Oh, thank you, Donna. You do. And I love you and I appreciate you. And, I'm sorry that I passed on your name to Dave because you're Donna, the determinator too. But I love you are truly the queen of perseverance. I love reading your stories that you share, when you have attempted to meet with somebody 5 times and on the 6th time, you help them, with, 3 plans or whatever it is. And that's amazing. So, and since we are past the hour, I just want to, before I give it back to you, Chris, I want to close with, because all of this has to do with fears. And I wrote some really amazing things down in some of the self-development stuff that I listened to. And he said, it's fortunately all fears are learned. They're learned. No one is born with fears. Fears can therefore be unlearned. By practicing self-discipline repeatedly with the regard to fear until it goes away. So whatever your biggest fear is, do that repeatedly, and then it'll go away. And like with what we do here, because that's the number one reason people struggle is the fear of the phone. And by dialing more and more, I promise you, you can prove me wrong. You could go and make 300 dials, and you tell me that your fear is either greater or less, and I guarantee you will say, you know what? A lot of my fear is gone, Stella. I learned this from making those dials. So I just really wanted to close with that. And Chris, would you like to? I'm gonna hop it back over to you.
Very good. Great call, Stella. And do we have one last call? Any questions? I thought I saw another hand go up. Anybody else want to? Yeah, go ahead, James.
I had it's off the wall question with the respects to the objections. Has anybody worked past the "you've got the wrong number" objection, or the person you're contacting has died objection, or do you just move on?
No, that's a great question, James. I'm so happy. I could sit here all day with you guys. You can ask me all these questions because I've called every kind of lead there is. Last year, and it happens, it happens. I actually helped a young guy with IUL. I had the wrong number. He said, "Oh, you got the wrong number." I said, "Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I was calling." And I started talking about, "Oh yeah, well, I looks like the person on here was blah, blah, blah." And I said, and he's like, "Yeah, no, this is John," or I can't remember what his name is. And I said, "Oh, okay, John. Well, nice to meet you." I said, and I kind of laughed said, "Well," I said, "do you have insurance? And do you have a plan in place?" He's like, "What do you mean?" So I went to talking with him, and I ended up, after 2 meetings, I wrote an IUL plan on this guy, young guy. And it was really cool. Like, it was the wrong number. Another time, and sometimes it doesn't always happen like that. There are times where I'm like, "Oh, I'm so sorry." And I'll get a feel, if they're angry and hostile and like, "You got the wrong number." I had somebody tell me to F off the other day, a 73-year-old lady. I'm like, "Really? You could have just said no, thank you." But, it happens all the time, unfortunately. But anyways, another person told me I had the wrong number, or sorry, they said, "No, that's not the name. This was an A-lead. This is a true story." An A-lead out of the state of Washington lady said, "That's no, we live at this address, but that's not blah, blah." I said, "Oh, I'm sorry, what's your name?" And so she told me her name, and I said, "Well, I've got this mortgage here." And we get to talking. They ended up rescheduling with me 3 times, but on the third time I ended up writing a plan on her husband. So you can get past that. It's just really, bottom line is just making that connection, just talking with them, and just like, "Well, hey, how can I help you?" Like, or, "Hey, did you know about what I do? Do you know what I was calling for?" So, it doesn't always pan out that you're going to help them. I get a lot of people, that I don't help. I'm not getting hung up over those people. I'm looking for the people who want my help and who appreciate me. Does that help you, James?
That was a great one, Stella. That was a great answer. And too many times people think an objection means no. An objection is not no. An objection is just a stall in most cases. And that's why that Stella, that phrase you use, that's exactly the reason I'm calling, because they're used to somebody that, a lesser salesperson calling, and they give them that stall, and then that person said, "Oh, okay," hangs up and goes away. And you just said, "Well, that's exactly the reason I'm calling." Well, what do I do with that? Guess I'm going to talk to this person, and so you're right. Here's the thing about overcoming objections. Nothing works 100% of the time. Dave Mones, will know this, the best baseball hitters are around 300, which means they miss 7 out of 10 times. And that's the same thing with objections. Objection response is just to keep the conversation going longer. And the longer you keep them on the phone, the more likely you are to win. So that's why we always tell people, deflect and go right back to the script. Because the minute they start answering questions, so I see your mortgage here is 200,000. Is that correct, or did you pay it down some? No, that's correct. We're already that's a win. We're already on the right track. So great call, Stella. Really delivered a lot of great content, and I hope you all took some great notes. Now, here's the important thing. It's one thing to take notes, but if you shove them in your drawer and walk away from this call, they're not going to do you any good. So let's implement them today, and let's put them into action. See what happens when you actually put this stuff in action. So, guys, great call. We have until midnight Eastern to get business in for the week. So I know several of you have appointments for the day. Pedal down and keep moving forward, guys. One of the things that Stella and I talked through text this morning. We need more people on the screen. And the way we're going to get more people on the screen is if we get more people that we talk to about checking out this opportunity. The only way we get people to check out the opportunity is if we ask them. So start asking a lot of people. Let's get some more people in here.
Yeah, ask the people that you sit with. Dave Moan was a client that I sat with. And there's other people, that are on my team that I actually sat with. So, it's every bit counts. If you feel like you don't have money to recruit, you don't need it. All you need is a heart and a vision.
ABR, always be recruiting. All right, guys, let's close it out. Have a great Friday, great weekend, and we will see you all next week.